Hello, everybody. Eric Smith here with the latest in my series about Valancourt's Paperbacks from Hell book series. This time I'm talking about Nightblood by T. Chris Martindale. Obviously, it's from Valancourt Books as part of their Paperbacks from Hell series. This is about Chris Stiles, who's a Vietnam vet. And you know what? I'm just going to read the back cover copy. Makes it easier on all of us. As a soldier in the jungle of Vietnam, Chris Stiles learned how to fight against a deadly enemy. Now, the war is over, but when his brother is slaughtered in Central Park, Chris finds himself called back into action, this time to battle a different kind of foe, an army of the undead. His quest for the creature that killed his brother brings him to Isherwood, Indiana, home to 800 people and one ancient vampire. As all hell breaks loose and the townspeople are turned one by one into blood-sucking monsters, will Chris's tactical skills and his arsenal of automatic weapons be enough to stop the vampire menace? That's your nutshell. So for the too long didn't watch people, I gave this 5 out of 5. I absolutely loved it. Grady Hendrix and whoever else might be working on this whole Paperbacks from Hell line from Valancourt have been knocking it out of the park with their selections. I think there's only one that I gave 4 out of 5, and that was just a very personal kind of. Some of it didn't work. Didn't work exactly for me. Don't know how to put that. It was a great book. I didn't love it as much as the other ones. It was it's still 4 out of 5, even though it's my least favorite of the 7 that I've read now. But all the rest, I've given 5 out of 5. I think they're absolutely fantastic. And this is no exception. Chris Stiles is a great character. I'm trying to recall. Skip that introduction. It's funny, because there's an introduction from Grady Hendrix, and then the first part of the book is introduction. Yes, so we meet Chris Stiles right off the bat. So we get a feel for what his character is. Ooh, and there's a nice little map of the town of Isherwood. So we meet Chris, and we get the whole setup for what's going on. He's got to go to Isherwood. His brother... How much do I talk about here? He's got to go. I'm going to leave some things. He's got to go to Isherwood. He's searching for capital the enemy, capital letters, and it might be in Isherwood. I think anytime you have a vampire novel that takes place in a small town, there are going to be comparisons made, or at least references to, when people are talking about it, Salem's Lot by Stephen King. The ultimate small town vampire novel. And I suppose I got those vibes. It's been a while since I've read Salem's Lot. But I think, again, any small town vampire novel is, if well written anyway, is going to give you Salem's Lot vibes. And that's what I get. I'm going to get into a little bit into Grady Hendrix's introduction here in a second. But we meet, Stiles comes into town, and we meet the deputy. We meet the woman that works at the drugstore and diner counter, and we meet just a bunch of different characters. So we've got a nice cast of interesting, diverse characters, and we've got a creepy house where something happened, a mansion off outside of town. Where's our little map? There's town. This is where the creepy house is. Town, obviously. This is where the creepy place is. So everything is set up nicely, and then eventually sort of all hell breaks loose, and it escalates to a point where it jumps off the scales. So we've got some really creepy stuff that happens. We've also got some over-the-top action stuff that happens. And this is where we get to the Grady Hendrix's introduction, where I learned that initially the author of this book tried to sell it to Gold Eagle. I believe that is specifically the one that he tried to sell it to, because it was meant to be the first in a series of men's adventure books. I'm a fan of some of those books. They're pulpy, they're quick, they're down and dirty. A lot of post-apocalyptic stuff, a lot of mercenary type stuff. This was going to be a Vietnam vet hunting monsters with a through line of trying to find the enemy that killed his brother. And Grady Hendrix talks about some of the specific ideas that were going to be part of the series, and I absolutely love it. I love that idea. I would love to have seen this happen. I would love for maybe Chris Martindale to sell the rights to somebody so they could do it. Apparently, he only wrote 6 books and then just decided he was tired of being a writer. But the thing is, I've read a bunch of Gold Eagle stuff. I've read a bunch of, not just a fraction of what there is, but I've read Gold Eagle stuff. I've read men's adventure stuff. And it is typically very pulpy, very, I don't want to say flatly written, but very, it's not fancy, typically. It's there to do a job, to titillate and thrill, and that's what it does. And Nightblood, for a book that was initially sent to them, that was supposed to be the beginning of that type of series, the writing is elevated here. It's actually, I hate to say it, but I can't think of a better way to put it, too good for that type of series. Which I'm not trying to put any of those authors down. I'm just saying that this is, I think the writing here is of a higher quality. I feel bad the way I don't know that I'm expressing this, excuse me, the proper way. But I'm sad that Chris Martindale wasn't able to make this into a series. I'm sad that he only wrote 6 books and decided to call it quits, because if the rest of his stuff is of the same quality as this, I would love to have seen him put out more stuff. It seems like there were marketing problems and some other things that caused some of his post Nightblood works to not have done well, and he just didn't want to deal with a bunch of this stuff. But Nightblood itself, again, it's got touches of Salem's Lot with that small town vampire thing going on. It has very creepy scenes. I think it takes some skill to be able to write creepy, and he does it to actually make goosebumps pop up on your flesh, or you feel a little tingle up your spine, and that works. But then there's these crazy action scenes. There's lots of guns and explosions and swords and the stuff that makes this that men's adventure type of thing. But it works. It fits. With Stiles being a Vietnam veteran, this is the fighting that he knows. And his interactions with the townspeople when he comes to town, I think, work very well. And I like that, spoilers? People don't, when he's sort of forced to tell anybody what it is he's doing, they don't believe it. It's not immediately, oh, I believe you immediately, which always bugs me, mostly bugs me. When people just automatically accept the supernatural unless that's the world that they're living in, you know, where the supernatural is just part of the world and everybody knows it. But when it's not, when it's supposed to be the real world, and people immediately accept, oh, it's a werewolf, or it's this, or it's that, it bugs me a little bit. But we don't have that in this case. Absolutely loved this. Upset that there isn't more, but you know, I got to accept the author's. You know, he's got to do what's best for him. It's not about making the readers happy. I mean, you want to write the best book you can, and you're hoping that the readers are going to respond to it. I think they do. I think they are. It's just kind of sad that we're not going to get more, but he's got to do what's best for him. But absolutely 5 out of 5 stars. I had a blast with this. I didn't want to put it down. The pacing is great. That slow build until things just go crazy. And with wonderful characters, some heartbreak going on, some twists and turns in the story, surprises that I'm not going to mention. I cannot recommend this enough. This might be my favorite now of the paperbacks from hell that I've read. Surprisingly, because the very first one is Killer Cockroaches, and you all know how much I love killer animals. But man, this one was just fantastic. So there you go. Nightblood, T. Chris Martindale, Valancourt Books, 5 out of 5 stars. The next one that I'm going to read, I did not grab. I don't remember what it's called. I want to say it's The Nestlings. It's the one with the little naked baby bird. Freaky looking baby bird on the cover. That's what's next in the series whenever I get to that. And recommendations based on Nightblood. I mean, it's going to be Salem's Lot. It's going to be They Thirst. It's going to be what was the one I just read? Oh, Vampiric by Simon Clarke. Trying to think of, I mean, I could say The Light at the End by John Skip and Greg Spector, because that's a vampire novel, but that's New York City, baby. I'm trying to think of Small Town. Well, They Thirst is Los Angeles. What am I saying? So, okay, The Light at the End by John Skip and Greg Spector. I mean, if I'm going to do that, Dracula. Might as well read that one while you're at it. Yeah, there you go. Some obvious recommendations, I think. Trying to think, except maybe for Vampiric by Simon Clarke. Trying to think of some lesser known, possibly lesser known vampire novels, but nothing's coming to mind. So, those are the recommendations you get. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, because I have no question for you, except maybe favorite vampire novel, let me know in the comments below. If you have any comments, questions, corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe, all the usual YouTube stuff. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, I'll have links for my Instagram and Bluesky in the comments or in the description below. And that's all I've got. I was going to say this has been the Low Budget Review Show, but it hasn't been. It has been part of the Valancourt Paperbacks from Hell series. So that's all I have for you this time. Until next time, read more books.